Good day, everybody. I'm here in my office. I'm about to upload some footage I just took of my collection. I get quite a few comments and questions about how do I file my records, how do I sell my records, what records you have besides jazz music. And I've shown that stuff, but it's always been 6 months to a year since I've done it. And so this is an updated expose of my collection, what I have, how I store it, how I file it, and it's a pretty big collection. The camera works a little bit shaky, but it's kind of hard to walk around and illustrate things at the same time, so I hope it's all right. So that's all we're going to do today is a quick run through of my collection, only about 10-15 minutes long. I got some more fun stuff coming down the pike, so we'll talk to you all soon, and have a great day. Peace. Good morning, everybody. How we doing today? My name is Dan. I'm the Jazz Shepherd. I've had a few people asking me about the rest of my collection and how I sort my records. And I figured it's stuff I've touched on before, but I'll touch on it again. What you're looking at here is my back record room. And this is all my hip hop. And that's all funk soul from the 60s, 70s, and 80s for the most part. 90s R&B is kind of on the bottom. And there's some current stuff as well on vinyl. Bruno Mars and that kind of stuff. But for my soul R&B records, I actually went through and created little dividers for all the big groups. And then I create a miscellaneous section for each letter at the end. So for example, here's miscellaneous B. This section right here is all miscellaneous B, funk and soul records. And that section continues on. There's miscellaneous C. You have all the great funk, soul, R&B groups, Funkadelic, Aretha Franklin, the Four Tops, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Dramatics, Delphonics. Down here you have the letter M and O, Maze, Midnight Star, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, Ohio Players, the OJs, Mass Production, Main Ingredient, Lakeside, LTD, Gladys Knight, Kool and the Gang, and some of these things have been kind of pushed in from pulling crates for record gigs. Isley's, Instant Funk, the Jacksons, Casey and Sunshine Band, Willie Hutch, Isaac Hayes, Leon Haywood, Donny Hathaway, Al Green, there's the Marvin Gaye, Gap Band, miscellaneous O, King Pleasure, Teddy Pendergrass, Parliament, Otis Redding, Smokey Robinson, Chaka Khan and Rufus, Sly Stone, Shalimar. You got Slave. That's a West Band. Staple Singers, Sun, The Supremes, Shalimar, I said. Down the bottom here, you have kind of a miscellaneous 80s. New Jack Swing meets just kind of 80s R&B pop crossover. Whitney Houston, Billy Ocean. There's a ton of R&B stuff that was big on the charts, in the R&B charts, but wasn't big on the pop charts from that era. Post-disco. Over here you have letter S and T, Tavares, Johnny Taylor, T-Connection, Temptations, Luther Vandross, War, Barry White, The Whispers, Bobby Womack, Bill Withers, Stevie Wonder, Zapp and Roger, and miscellaneous W through Z. And so these funk and soul records here have been kind of the heart and soul of my collection for a long time. What you see here is stuff I've played recently at gigs. My crates are still loaded, so that stuff should all be on those shelves too. Again, this is my hip-hop section, and you'll see a bunch of stuff down here on the bottom that I've played recently. And this is kind of done by decade. You have kind of 80s hip-hop on the top, into some early 90s stuff. But, you get X-Clan, Paris, EPMD, Two Live Crew, Sir Mix-a-Lot, World's Famous Supreme Team, Fat Boys, West Street Mob, Africa Bambaataa and James Brown, Slick Rick, Run DMC, Brand Nubian, all that kind of era hip-hop's on the top shelf. The next shelf is kind of your 90s hip-hop, and that runs a wide gamut from Nas, Biggie, Pac, all the Wu-Tang family stuff, Guru, Jazzmatazz, Jurassic 5's early stuff. And the next shelf down is 2000 era hip hop, that decade. Your 50 Cents and Ludacris and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that stuff, it's kind of gotten mixed up from all the gigs. And the bottom shelf is mostly current stuff from, there's a bunch of samplers in there. Kind of last 20 years R&B, some modern rap is behind these stacks here, of course. These stacks are, just stuff from gigs. Over here, we have my electronic music from the 90s, 2000, everything from Basement Jaxx, A Massive Attack, Tricky and Portishead, Hooverphonic. A lot of it seems to be from the UK and England, honestly. And then on this side, you have house music, mostly 12-inch stuff. But Naked Music, Ohm, Cascade, a lot of that era stuff was kind of stuff I'm into. This is now it's kind of a tough shelf to see because it's big. This is my rock shelf. And it covers a lot of different ground. That top section up there, that would be blues all the way across. Then you have 50s rock, country rock, rockabilly, and some other various stuff like that, some surf stuff. Fun stuff on that top shelf. The oldest of, eras. And then this next shelf, you have some ambient music, which is mostly Brian Eno, Daniel Lanois, and some Mike Oldfield, Mobius, that kind of stuff. But then it starts with alphabetical classic rock groups. Your Almonds, Animals, The Band, The Beach Boys, Beatles, Bowie, Cohen, Leonard Cohen, Creedence, The Byrds, The Doors, Dylan, Grateful Dead, Jimi Hendrix. A big miscellaneous section there in the end. There you can see you got some Zappa, Neil Young, The Who, Tom Waits, Velvet Underground, T-Rex, Traffic, Steely Dan, Simon & Garfunkel, Santana, Stones, Queen, Floyd, Van Morrison, John Lennon, Led Zeppelin, Jefferson Airplane, and then that's a miscellaneous M through Z section, classic rock. A lot of my classic rock stuff's down on the floor there. This next section would be kind of 80s alternative stuff, from the Cocteau Twins to The Cure, Bauhaus, Depeche Mode, Duran Duran, INXS, Joy Division, Madonna, Ministry, New Order, Skinny Puppy, U2, The Police, all that kind of alternative 80s stuff is pretty much in that shelf. This bottom shelf here, this is kind of a section of newer contemporary music like Rudimental, Postal Service, Halsey, Duffy, Sam Smith, Purity Ring. There's a whole bunch of that back there. And the rest of that section is reggae. And then here you have your metal section and some industrial stuff on that bottom shelf, kind of hidden behind that. And then here you have more electronic, kind of down-tempo remix stuff, the 18th Street Lounge label, a bunch of jazz remix stuff, a bunch of Daptone label stuff in those bottom two shelves you can't really see. That's some of my 45s. This is Outside and Country America. And then, of course, this is my to-go 45 box for gigs. This is something my cat broke for me recently. My cats love to climb on top of stuff and knock stuff over. Now we're going to walk front to the jazz room. So, and this front room is going to be hopefully a coffee shop soon. We've kind of been dragging our heels on some stuff. But this is my West Coast and Chicago cabinets of jazz. And of course, those cabinets are delightfully beautiful. The left side here on the top shelf is Contemporary and Pacific. And then you have Fantasy and a whole host of smaller labels across. Then you have Capitol and then Liberty and Reprise. And I think Hi-Fi Jazz is in there somewhere too. And down there you have RCA, Decca, Epic. And that continues right across here into these ones, which has Columbia is down here. So at the bottom you have Columbia, Epic, and then Decca, Chorale, RCA, and then Capitol's right above it. And then Liberty, Hi-Fi Record, Reprise. So you kind of have all those bigger labels in there together. And then here, the top shelf, you have a miscellaneous section of small labels from VJ to King to Urania. There's a ton of them up there. Storyville, Time, Vanguard, Jaro, Delmark, Debut, Dawn, Colpix, Charlie Parker Records, Candid Records. There's quite a mix of stuff in there. Jazz Time, Transition. And this shelf here is Argo all the way across. 200 plus Argos. And they're all chronologically sequenced by their release dates and numbers. And then this is the Emercy Mercury family. And so the first 150 or so Emercies are all kind of in this section. And then this is more the Mercury section, which are the same family. So that's how this section is set up. LA and Chicago, West Coast and Mid-Country. And then, of course, we roll around here. And there's my DJ table where you see me do most of my episodes from. My reference guides that are invaluable to me. And then what you have back here is my 10-inch cabinet. A couple hundred 10 inches in there. And I'm a big 10-inch fan. I love the format. This little rack here is my Bethlehem 10 inches, and all 37 of them are on there in those 6 little shelves. I like to change the fronts of them because they're honestly very beautiful records. With the covers, the colors, they do a great job with Bert Goldblatt, of course. And so I change those up all the time. Now this cabinet section is twice as big as the other cabinet, and this is pretty much all the great New York labels. And we'll just kind of run through it real quick. We have Savoy here at the top. And so that's Savoy. And Savoy runs all the way through to here where Regent is in this section. And Regent is part of Savoy. Some Dial. And this is the Roulette part of... And then Roost is here. So Roost is like the other side of the Roulette family. Roost is kind of first, honestly. And then Roulette comes and buys them out. And then we're into Bethlehem Records. And Bethlehem goes all the way across. And again, you have over 200 Bethlehem. There's some stuff sitting up there and some stuff here that needs to be filed. This next section is Riverside. Riverside runs all the way across to right here. So it's a pretty good section of Riverside Records. And then what you have here is Swingville, Moodsville, New Jazz right there. And then New Jazz is continued here. That's the New Jazz stuff. And then you have the 7000 sequence running all the way across to the end. Right here you have the ABC label, which spouts off the Impulse label, and then the Impulse is run all the way through to the end. And of course I have the first 150 Impulse plus probably 30 or 40 more after that. Going the other way here from Roost on this section, from ABC, sorry, is Verve. And the Verve stuff runs from here all the way through to right there. So that's all Verve records. And the next shelf down, you have Jubilee in that first little section right there. Then you have Atlantic for all the way across to, you have Atlantic to right about there. And then you have some miscellaneous stuff that doesn't have enough to get its own labels. And then over here we have Fusion stuff, and that's CTI right there. And that's miscellaneous 70s Fusion stuff. And a lot of that stuff's on different labels by that point anyway. So that's this section. Again, that's all New York, big label jazz for the most part. And like I said, back there is all the Chicago and LA jazz. And so that would be how I file my records right now. You know, it's informative doing it by label, as I've said before in episodes. You learn a lot of things, a lot of reference points, a lot of counterbalance to what's happening at that time simultaneously, in the other areas of the jazz world. So I figured I'd just make that a little fun episode for you. I hope you all enjoyed that last episode on Sonny Stitt. I put some good work into that one, and I think that's a format I'm going to try to dabble in like once a month or so, where I'd go in depth and really dig out some deeper context. So hopefully when we get this little coffee shop going here, it'll be a fun place to visit. Was like I said, the project's kind of installed as of late for various reasons, but partly because my wife's working so much. But so that's my collection right now. There's a bunch of Jubilee stuff from an episode I made. I made that episode probably 3 weeks ago. I haven't put them back yet.